We got a turn 2 deck up in here. Luigi Gundam versus the Snakes. What the heck? Snake Rain. Send 4 reptiles from your deck to the graveyard. I don't care what your deck does. That's got to be the choke point. We got to negate that, right? Ash on the Snake Rain and we win. Surely.
There can only be one winner. And you're looking at it. Let's go.
Pot of E for our very first play at the start of the turn. Drawing into our pot of D, but the can't draw any more cards the rest of the turn, so that's unfortunate. We're going to be grabbing a Unicorn from the deck through the effect of our Small World. Valor, negate the Unicorn, mates. Now, we need to get the Unicorn engraved to then reborn it with the Birth, which we can normal summon our Ash Blossom to make that level 10 Synchro play. Yes? Are we willing to do that? No, we're not. We're going to hold our Ash. Do we play a level 10 Synchro? We do not. Interesting. Ostinato is a risky negate. It could be a great negate, it could be a horrible negate, because if they have a second or third copy, it doesn't work like Branded Fusion, where they can't activate the other copies. They can activate the second or third copy as long as they control no monsters, and they do play 3. But looks like it worked out here. Negate the Ostinato. Refrain is a full 1-card combo for whatever deck you're playing it in. We have Unicorn banishing the Botcha from the extra deck. Did we completely screw Trap Play's extra deck? Let's check it out. Is there another copy of Botcha in here? Oh no, we play Shiberta in Botcha instead of double Botcha. So there goes our Melodious Engine. We are now going to couplet, grab a Concerto, allowing us to fuse with our back row. As we fuse the couplet and refrain into a Shiberta, Shiberta could banish up to 3 cards from either player's graveyard. That's going to trigger the refrain and the couplet to set up as Pendulum Scales. Birth is going to be banishing 3 cards from the opponent's graveyard face down, which by banishing the Concerto, that means you now do not get to draw a card. Sure, good. Are we Pendulum Shokaning the Naya onto the field? Snake Rain sending 4 cards from the deck to the grave. We ashed a different effect like the Ostinato instead. Are we going to regret it as the Night Sword Serpent triggers engraved to reborn itself? As the Cure Use is going to tribute the Serpent to then reborn itself. As we then Naya on summon, search our deck for the Ogdoadic Daybreak, which tributes off our Reptile to give us a token, 2 tokens, triple tokens in the field. As we're now going to be linking off 1 token into a Link Spider. Link Spider and a token are now going to turn themselves into a Haggard Lizard. Haggard Lizard is going to be drawing a card, as we are going to reduce our own attack, drawing into a Ghost Bell here. Now making the Ragnarika Selene. Ragnarika Selene is going to be banishing 2 cards in the graveyard to take out 2 cards on the field. Say goodbye to the Birth and the Crossout Designator, as we reborn the Nunu from Engrave. Now turning this into the King of the Feral Imps. King of the Feral Imps will be detached and search our deck for any reptile monster. We have another Nunu. Now we're going to Ogdoadic Daybreak, banish from Engrave to return the Curious that's banished back in the deck, as we then trigger the Nephilibis Engrave to reborn itself to then add Engrave onto the field. In Ogdoa Abyss, the Overlord, with over 12,000 damage. I have no idea what the heck I just commentated, but we win. Even with Botcha being banished from the extra deck face down. This is the great thing about mixing engines. You want to have an engine that loses to Ash, and then mix it with another engine that loses to Ash, and then the opponent only has 1 Ash for you to eat. So this deck's going to be all about protecting the Fossil Dyna, as we Ash negate, but now we could use our Pot of Desires to draw instead of the Pot of E, where the Pot of D would have not been activatable. Pot of D, say goodbye to the 10 cards off the top of our deck, drawing into a Unicorn. Unicorn going to get Valor. That did not take up our normal summon, but we do have Sarvis, which will be eating the Valor negate. Now Valor can be used again, back-to-back Valor. If we had double impermanence, this situation would have not worked out. We could not chain a second impermanence to the Sarvis negating the first. Unicorn is not going to be grabbing Theosis, right? Well, it is grabbing nothing because the Valor did go through a negate, as the Rise Hard special summons, locking us into Xyz monsters only, banishing from our deck a Kashtira Birth, as we then normal summon the Fossil Dyna. Neither player can special summon monsters. Not even the Shang-Ri, which attempts to summon during the standby phase. Now, the Shang-Ri, if you were to attempt to destroy it by battle or card effect, you could detach a material from this instead. So the Shang-Ri is plan B, with Fossil Dyna being the main focus of preventing either player from special summoning, resulting in a swift surrender. Damn. No Asinato, but we do have Snake Rain against no Ash Blossom in sight. By sending 4 cards from the deck to the grave, if you care about this deck type, I would say this is probably going to be the main play. Now, what are our disruptions? I have no idea. We have Imperm plus 2 monster negates plus an Ash Blossom plus a Nibiru Tribute the Field. That is 5 disruption without even reading what these cards even do. So the Nephilibis, if a monster is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, we don't care about that. You control this card. It looks like it has no disruption. What about this one? Once while this card's face up on the field, you could send all monsters from the field to the graveyard except face-up special summon monsters from the grave. Wow. Quick effect, send the whole field to the grave as long as it's not summoned from the grave. Interesting. Send all monsters from the field to the grave. Yup. Ash, negate the small world mate. We're now down to 5 disruptions left. On top of that full field wipe, we're going to want to use our Apollo at least. Well, Apollo's now dead, so from 5 disruption, we're now down to 3. Unicorn is going to be met with an impermanence. Negate. We're going to Sarvis. Negate the impermanence, as the Unicorn will now go through to be searching our deck. We're now down to just Nibiru and the ability to send the entire field of monsters to the graveyard. This would probably be the moment to use the effect, yes? Send the Unicorn before the Theosis resolves, summoning a monster from the deck. Even if you let it resolve, then send it. You probably don't want them to get access to a Fenrir and Grave. Well, okay, we have the Fenrir. Now we're gonna send it. So let's see if the Fenrir and Grave is even that big of a deal. Everything on the field that's not from the graveyard is now gone. We're gonna be banishing a Birth from the deck. Scareclaw Kashtira, summon from our hand. Banishing Theosis to grab access to the Birth. And this is what I was talking about. They now have access to that Fenrir, reborn it from the graveyard where it should have been in the deck instead. That is a big deal. Birth the Fenrir on field. Fenrir now searching for our Unicorn. We already used up our normal summon. Into a triple rank 7 Xyz, Kashtira, Arise Heart. Arise Heart in defense. We're not going to be swinging? Okay. Arise Heart triggering to re-equip the Theosis. If when banished, it will be adding back a banished Kashtira. Now with the Arise Heart on field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Can a card like Sarvis still work? Let's read it. When your opponent activates a card, you can discard this card, does not specify the graveyard, thus, we will negate the activation of a card that is attempting to target the Arise Heart. Asinato off the top of the deck. Now, because we have the Arise Heart in defense, we didn't swing with it and it's not an attack. This is stuck on the field where the Asinato cannot be used because we have to control no monsters in order to use it. We're going to use the Nephilibis effect to target Heat Soul. Reborn Heat Soul, what the... Target 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Literally anything you want into an SP Little Knight. Little Knight's going to be a great way to deal with that Arise Heart. On summon, banish it, but the Sarvis will be negating the Little Knight play. We're going to chain Little Knight to just temporarily banish the Arise Heart until the end of the turn. And guess what? This now opens up the field. No monsters on field. We can now follow up with the Asinato. There's another problem, though. Well, is there? We can attack directly because the Little Knight was negated. Yes, we can have game. The first effect, this one. Also, your monsters cannot attack directly, has been negated. We're going to be searching for a Concerto with the couplet Concerto. We're going to be fusing with what could have been our back row if we wanted to into a Shiberta. That's going to be triggering the Refrain and the Bacha, reborning the Refrain in Grave as the other Refrain sets itself up as a pendulum scale. The pressure is on. We know the Arise Heart's coming back in the end phase. We're going to be banishing from the opposing player's graveyard, say goodbye to the Unicorn, as we now turn this into the Haggard Lizard. Haggard Lizard triggering the Concerto to draw a card randomly, drawing into another Asinato. as we now use the Nunu, discarding itself to send from the deck to engrave to come forth and summon itself, as we now make Exceed the Pendulum. Exceed the Pendulum's going to grab a face-up extra deck card. We could then special summon it, or from engrave, we could special summon instead. Nunu, if you control no monsters, or at least an Ogdoadic, I think it said, you could then reborn it. This is happening too crazy. Let's get those tokens out. We're going to be using the effect of the Daybreak Engrave. Send one reptile from your deck to the graveyard, as we now make a Ragnarika Selene Snapper. Selene Snapper is going to banish from engrave to wipe out that birth. 4,900 damage. Why couldn't we attack directly? Why didn't we attack? The Little Knight first effect of banishing and not being able to attack directly was thwarted. There was no reason why we couldn't attack, right? Sarvis negated. Sarvis negates. Huh. Okay, Arise Heart's here. Take a time. You think time is the problem? Arise Heart is going to be sucking up the Naya after a card has been destroyed by battle, as anything sent to the graveyard's banished instead, and every time a card is banished, the Arise Heart gains a material. Now, will the Arise Heart gain its ever so powerful third material to give it the ability to banish any card on the field? Yes, it will. Right now, we're gaining the second material. Tearliving Kashtira is going to be milling 3 cards from either player's deck. We could choose to mill the opponent's deck as it's going to get banished, and then we're going to gain a third material to banish anything, as the Theosis also, when banished, is triggering to add back the Kashtira Arise Heart, which will be special summonable. Let's mill off the opponent's deck, as you just saw there. Arise Heart gaining its third material, equipping another Theosis. Rise Heart special summoning, banish from the opponent's deck face down. As we now, again, further trigger the Arise Heart. You gotta be careful though. That Nibiru is getting ready. You're on your third summon, as we detach 3 to attempt to banish a Pendulum Scale. Nicely done. Exceed the Pendulum's going to chain special summon a Refrain from the hand before the scale is gone. Arise Heart and Shang-Ri is now going to be activating their effects. So the Shang-Ri locks up the Pendulum Zone. That's it. You cannot Pendulum Shokan. Ain't no way we're on our 4th summon. Are we really going to stop? That's it. We don't have another way to summon our 5th body. Trap Plays is praying that a 5th summon happens, as the Arise Hearts are continually triggering, reacquiring more Exceed materials. This Arise Heart will be activatable again to banish any card on the field, but it is only once per turn, that is. Back to you. Get ready. With double Arise Heart, it's double banishment. King of the Feral Imps is not a trigger effect. It's not on summon search your deck. You are required to have an open game state to activate, thus we're going to take advantage of that by banishing it before it activates. Double Arise Heart activating. We now need the other Arise Heart to gain its 3 materials to be able to banish any card in the field. Now, the Selene Snapper can target 1 insect, plant a reptile you control, place in the bottom of the deck, and then special summon this. What's the other effect? Banish up to 2 monsters from your graveyard, then target spell and trap cards your opponent controls to destroy them. It does not have the ability to take out Arise Heart. It only takes out back row cards. Again, the second Arise Heart is gaining its 3rd Exceed material, ready to get banishing with any card on the field. This one, they're just triggering their effect to gain more Exceed materials every time something is banished. Let's see what happens here. We are allowing the Snapper to snap our Tearliving Kashtira, as we're holding on to that targeting banishment. When do we choose to banish? When is the exact moment to do so? The end phase will ideally be when we'd want to do it, as you see right there. End phase, banish 3,700 life, trigger both of the Arise Hearts with an open field, 6,000 damage. Nibiru and Duel will obviously not be able to stop these plays. It's time to end the duel. Straight to the battle phase, double Arise Heart for game. Really unfortunate for Trap Plays, playing a graveyard-focused deck against probably the only player in the entire event that's playing anti-graveyard with Kashtira. It's a stun. It's got Lava Golem, Fossil Dyna, Stun Tira.